Welcome to the Dear Professor series, where college students who take courses online speak their minds. I am your host and e-learning strategist, Dr. Kelly Austin, who is honored to have a conversation with today's guest as she sheds light on her experiences as an online student. I've been teaching online since 2004 and made the tough decision to obtain my PhD through an online program. So I have been both an online instructor and an online student. As a result, I know that some wonderful things are happening with online programs, as well as some not so wonderful things going on. The purpose of this series is to help professors and students experience a more fulfilling online learning environment by allowing students to reveal their needs and their pet peeves. I hope that this information will support professors in making the necessary changes or adjustments in the design and delivery of their online courses, which should ultimately enhance student success and satisfaction with distance education. So if you are interested in hearing what students have to say about their lived experiences online, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that every Wednesday at 8 p.m., the latest episode will come straight to you. Also, feel free to comment about anything said and ask questions. If you are listening via a podcast platform, please be sure to follow and rate the series so that your interest and opinion of the show are made known. Today, I am so honored to have Dr. Sheniqua Johnson as my guest. Well, hello, Dr. Johnson.
Hey, Dr. Kelly, how are you?
I am doing so well, and I would like to just welcome you to the Dear Professor series and say Happy New Year, even though this first quarter is almost over. So Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. I hope it is a Happy New Year for everyone that is listening.
Indeed. Now, we are already at the end of the first quarter of 2024. So, Dr. Johnson, did you have any hopes for this year that have already materialized in this first quarter?
Absolutely. So one of my hopes was about my health and wellness. I wanted to get back into taking better care of myself. You know, being a busy entrepreneur, sometimes we forget to take care of ourselves. Sometimes when you're a student, you forget to take care of yourself. So I made it a purpose at the start of the year to say, you know what? You have to make certain that you pay attention to you. You got to put you on your agenda. And that I did. And we've been rocking and rolling since the beginning of the year. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful to say that I have reached some milestones as it pertains to my health.
That is wonderful. So what specifically have you been focusing on to take care of yourself?
I needed to get back to making appointments with my doctors.
Okay.
Yeah, I had slacked up with that, you know, just between work schedules and everything else and family life. I put seeing those medical professionals on the back burner.
Okay.
So I had to make certain that I start back making my appointments, and I've done that, you know, make a little checklist and say, I've seen this one. So that way you're getting checked. And I think sometimes when we are feeling good, we forget to go check in, right?
Right.
It's like getting maintenance. You have to make certain that the car is running effectively. You don't want to wait till it breaks down and say, oh my goodness, what happened to the car? So I said, you know what? Make certain you check in with your medical professionals just to get a baseline, just to see where you are. So that way, God forbid, if something happens down the line and I'm not feeling my best, at least I have my baseline.
Yes, you know, you made me think about how my granddaddy used to say the car needs a tune-up.
Yeah.
You know, you got to take
it.
Right.
Every couple of miles, you got to you take it in. Exactly.
Yeah, so that's wonderful. Now, tell us a little bit more about yourself, Dr. Johnson.
Well, I am Dr. Sheniqua Johnson, but I go by the name Sheniqua Inspires because I am a motivator and I am a purpose igniter. So what I do is I help to motivate people and light that fire underneath them so that they can take care of themselves and do all the things that they need to do in this world. But I have also worked in the medical profession as a registered nurse. I've been in healthcare for over 20 years. And I decided to ignite myself. And I took those skill sets that I learned in nursing school and I branched out to be the CEO and owner of A Better You, where I help those busy multitasking women, right? Those women just like myself. I help them to reprioritize their well-being so that they can continue to serve this world 100% without subtracting anything from themselves. So that's probably one of my favorite things that I do. And I do that through my coaching programs, my accountability programs. So if you have a goal, I can help you reach it. Yes, it doesn't stop there, Kelly. It doesn't stop there because I am the queen of the multitask. I said that, right? I'm helping other women. So in addition to my wellness company, I also have a media company, Stronger Through Faith Media, where I help people tell their stories, get their stories to millions. And we do that through book publishing, book coaching, podcast creation, and getting more media exposure. So I am honored to serve in these different capacities. Even though they're different, they are still the total makeup of who I am as Sheniqua Inspires.
Oh my, so where do I sign up?
Yes. Listen, because we all have goals, we all have dreams, we all have aspirations. We've all been created for a purpose.
Yeah.
So it's important that we stay focused on that purpose. But see, when life starts to happen, we start getting distracted. So we want to make certain that we have somebody that can just reel us in. And that's what Sheniqua Inspires does, baby. I just come up to you and I light that fire underneath you so that you can continue to do what it is that you have been called to do.
Yeah. So how did you branch off from, because you're not doing nursing right now, right?
No, I'm not.
Right. So what inspired you, Sheniqua, to do what you're doing now?
Well, what inspired me was the fact when I was in the hospital. So I used to work in the hospital. And I used to see people, we call them revolving patients, right? They constantly were coming back in. Right. And I knew I was doing a great job as a registered nurse. You know, I was giving out the medications. I was making certain that they got to their tests and the procedures that they needed. I was doing my part. Well, for some reason, they always seem to just come back in. A couple of months later, here they are again for the same problem. And I was like, wait a second, I know I'm doing all that's within my power to do. The missing piece was what they were going to do. See, you can teach somebody all day long while they're in your face, but they have to be able to implement and to execute the plan once they get home. And we forget that all of the competing priorities are going to meet them at home. When they're in the hospital, it's just you and them. Right? So you can teach, they're talking the right talk, they're doing the right thing. But the minute you get them back home in their regular environment, things change. And what I wanted to do, I had that passion as to speaking with people, connecting with people to get them to make that change. And that change starts with your mind. It doesn't start with the medications. I thought it did. I thought it started with the medications, but it starts with the mindset. So that's what ignited me to say, you know what? You can take these very same skills that you learned in the nursing program, and now you can apply them to your own company where you can actually start to target people's mindset.
Oh, yes. You know what? I didn't realize until I started doing network marketing. Well, actually, I started doing network marketing at 19, Mary Kay. But when I got older and I was still doing network marketing, I began to read a lot of personal development books and to understand how important mindset is. And I just really wish that as an educator that we would teach that more in school because it really just changes your life when you transform your mind. And so a friend of mine, we've been really focused on our mindset since around 2015. encouraging each other. We'll get each other together. We're saying negative things about ourselves or situations. We'll help each other get back on track. And we always talk about how when she's up, and I'm feeling some kind of way, I can always call her to get my mindset back on the right track. So I'm so glad you pointed that out, because that is really important. I don't think people understand how important their mindset is. So let's talk about really quickly that media company that you have. What do you enjoy the most about that?
I love helping people to produce their books, because I am the author of 15 books to date. And I remember the joy that I felt when I penned that first book. And to be able to get people to that place, because we all have a story.
Yes.
And our story helps other people, right? It helps other people to avoid the pitfalls, but it also can help people coast through. So I always feel like it's so important for us to tell our stories. So I think that's where I get my greatest joy, is seeing my authors with their book babies in their hands, and now they're ready to take on the world. But I've realized that it shouldn't stop there. So once you publish your book with me, I realized that you need to be groomed and cultivated on what to do now. It's like when you have a baby. Okay, I gave birth. Now what? You're letting me go home with this baby. What am I going to do with this baby when I'm at home, right?
Exactly. I remember that.
But somebody going to teach me how to feed it and nurture it and do all these other things. Like, we don't get these manuals. So I come back into my clients and I help them, get their message out there, whether it's on podcasts, whether it's through other media outlets like magazines and newspapers, things of that nature. So it's really about getting that story to its maximum capacity. You don't want to just tell a story and let it drop where the book ends, right? We want to keep it going. We want people, because that's how people are going to get connected to it. And that's how they're going to make the change in their own lives. So we got to get those messages out there.
Well, I see why you go by Sheniqua Inspires. Yes. That is absolutely wonderful. Now, tell us about your general experience with taking courses online.
I love online courses.
Okay.
It is convenient, flexible, just how I like it. I like everything in life to be convenient and flexible. But you know what? That is all based off of my general experience. I understand that people have their own take on online experiences, online courses based off of their experience. I just so happen to have a positive one. So I have these raving standards about it. So I actually went back to graduate school for my Master's of Science in Nursing and Healthcare Education degree. And this program was actually slated to be 2 years, but I'm that type of a person that the GPS tells me my arrival time is this, and I'm going to try to get some time cut off of it every now and then. Yeah, those people.
That's me too, trying to beat the GPS.
Yes. So I actually got my program completed in just under 2 years. So I had a really, really good experience. So I have positive things to say about it.
Yeah. So what kind of format did you have? Or did you do mostly asynchronous or synchronous classes?
Everything was on. So we didn't have actual classes.
Okay.
We would have like coursework that would need to be completed. We would go in, we had books, we would have to read, we'd have to comment and reply to the other people who were participating in the class. So it wasn't like we had to be there at a certain time, at like 5 o'clock virtually. Like, it wasn't anything like that. So it really did have the flexibility.
So did you have those 8-week courses, or how many weeks would one course be? How long did it take?
So it was 8 weeks, and then you would go on to the next one, and you had the opportunity that you could take a break in between. But I had this system going. I was like, okay, let's do this math here. And I said, if I can keep going, so I would take at least, 3 or 4 classes back to back to back, and then I will break.
Okay.
Well, a little bit. I wouldn't break a long time. I would just do like a week break, and then I would catch my breath and I would go right back in.
Yeah. So since you had such a positive experience, I can't wait for you to answer this question.
Yes.
If you were to rate your experience on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being outstanding and 1 being horrific, what rating would you give and why?
I'm going to give it a 9. I'm going to give it a
Okay.
9. And the reason why I didn't go with the full 10, because I wanted to. I wanted to give it the full 10. But the reason why I said a 9 is because it was hard. And I don't want anybody to think because they're doing it online that it takes away, like it's not as rigorous as your in-person courses. Like it was still very hard. And especially if you have to take math classes. And I don't know, as nurses, that's like one of the classes we're always like, why do I need to take this when they have pumps in the hospital that can calculate and do all of this stuff for you?
Right.
But they still mandate you to take math classes. And that to me was really hard to take a math class online. So I give it a 9 just because of that rigorousness. I didn't want anybody to think that it was like easy peasy.
Well, you are our third 9.
All right.
Okay. So
now the schools are doing their thing then.
Right. So that's a really good score. So I'm happy to know that you had such a positive experience. When you think about nursing and health education, I think people think of a service-based profession like that and wonder, how can you feel fulfilled taking courses online? Could you speak to that?
Well, see, here's the thing. See, now my bachelor's program, so when I did the bachelor's program, that was in person. Right. That's where we had the clinicals. That's where we went into the hospital settings and all the other different healthcare settings. So we were able to get the hands on.
Okay.
When you're doing the graduate study, so on a master's level, it's literally teaching me how to teach.
Okay.
It's teaching me how to make an impact from the classroom side. So it didn't necessarily need that clinical rotation aspect to it. And I was actually very happy for that. That was one of my determining factors as to whether or not I was going to do online or I was going to do in person. Because honestly, I didn't have time for classwork and clinical. It's like, wait a second, this program has just the course. So I said, yeah, this is the one that's going to be the best suited for me. So it definitely was challenging, but I think it was better and it was customized for the learner. So they know that you're already working. So technically you're getting your clinical experience because you were working. So it wasn't like a slap in the face to say, I'm going to give you something more than what you're already, have. It was, let me use your life experience as that, other portion that these in-person schools do.
Okay, wonderful. Because I was going to ask you about the clinicals and did you have to do, experiential type learning where you had to go out in the field? So thank you for clarifying that already. So let's talk about your needs as an online student. Now, a need is defined as something you require because it is essential or very important. When you click on the online courses that you take or that you took, what did you require or desire from your professor in the course to be successful?
I needed flexibility.
Okay.
I needed to be able to fit those classes in with the little bit of time I had and whenever it arrives, because sometimes it wasn't the same, so sometimes on a Wednesday, I could be super busy and then sometimes I would have the time. So I needed to be really, really flexible. And most of the time when I did my coursework, it was after I got my little ones to bed. So that would be around about 8, 9 o'clock in the evening. I don't know any classes, any colleges that are open that late. And then what am I doing with my sleeping babies, right? So I definitely needed something that was going to be very, very flexible. And I certainly didn't want to find a sitter while I take these, like go back to school. I didn't need that on my to-do list. So I needed something that was going to be really flexible. It was going to be really convenient, and I was going to be able to get it in where I could fit it in.
Yes. Now, when you talk about flexibility, what was typically the time frame that you had to submit assignments? Because we're talking about those late night hours. I know what you're talking about.
Yes.
What time were your assignments due that really helped you to get those things done while your babies were sleeping?
So what really helped me, this is the kicker. This is what really helped me because I'm in New York City.
Okay.
So I'm in Eastern Standard Time. So my school that I was going to was in Arizona. So we're in a different time zone. And so they would say that the coursework would be due by 11:59. But because I was an East Sider, it was like I got a little extra time. So I could be up to 1 o'clock in the morning and submit things in there. So it was really helpful that I felt like I got a little bit of extra time being East Coast.
Oh, okay. Now, how often were those assignments due, like in general, would you say?
Well, there was always something to be done weekly.
Okay.
So we would always have something. So we would have to read some chapters. We would have to reply online. So they have this forum that you would go in and you had to make your reply. So the format was you had to make your reply. They would give you, maybe like 250 words minimum. So you have to make your reply. You had to cite, your source. So like you had to do something really, really thorough. And then you had to go in and you had to reply to at the very least 2 other students. And you couldn't just say, oh, that was great. Oh, that sounds nice. No, it had to be thought-oriented. It had to be pertaining to the chapter of study. So like you'd have to say, I agree with you because on page 61, it mentioned this, that, and the other. So we had to give these profound replies. It couldn't just be like, you go, girl, and keep it moving. So it was definitely, at the very least, it was weekly.
Okay. Wonderful. So flexibility is your first need. Did you have another need? I'm feeling like you have another need.
Listen, it had to be flexible. That was the main need. And convenient, which is like the same kind of word, but it just had to be, I had to be able to do it at my own terms. Yes, you can give me a deadline. I'm all for deadlines. I understand deadlines, but I just didn't need anybody specifying when I did it, like on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Like I couldn't use anything like that. So it really did have to be convenient.
Okay, then. So I was in error. You had
just really one.
Okay, that's wonderful. All right. So now let's talk about your pet peeves. Now, when we talk about a pet peeve, we mean a minor annoyance that an individual finds particularly irritating, and it's something that bothers you more than it bothers others. So your pet peeve may not be someone else's, and that's okay. Did you have any pet peeves, anything that annoyed you about the online courses that you took?
Now, I actually have 2 of these.
Oh, okay.
The first one is group work. Oh my goodness. Listen, I may be Sheniqua Inspires, but I am an introvert. But I always say I have extrovert tendencies. So I can switch the dial to extrovert and I can get on stages and I can shine and sparkle and glitter. You name it. I can do all of that. But when I'm off duty, I'm reserved. I'm quiet. I'm mild-mannered. I like to keep to myself. I'm like Clark Kent, right? So it's like, don't bother me. I just want to be in my zone.
Okay.
And I love working independently. I'm that type of a person. When I get that notion, when that creative flow starts going at midnight or 1 a.m, I'm that person that gets up and will start grinding and doing what I have to do. That's how I write my books. When I'm in the flow, I don't put the pen down. But now you're telling me I got to work in a group. Now I got to go at everybody else's pace and they're ready to rock and roll. And I'm like, my brain is like, we didn't get our creative download yet. We have to wait. You're ready to go, and I'm ready to slow down. Like so it wasn't conducive to the way I like to flow. So group work was definitely my very, very top pet peeve.
Let me tell you, that is one of the themes of my interviews is the group work experience. But let me ask you something. Since you didn't have synchronous courses where you all met live, how did you all organize the group work process? Did you set aside time for you all to meet each other? Or did you just
have it like that? Yes. So
how did you do that?
So we have a syllabus that tells us when everything is done. So everything was, spelled out for us. But when it came to the group work, we would be paired off. We wouldn't have any control because, again, they don't want you in a group with your best friend or your sister or something like that. So they always just kind of sporadically created the group. So they would put you in group A, group B, whatever. And then now that's extra time. So that's probably the reason why I didn't like the group work, because the syllabus is syllabus. We that's like the holy grail.
Right.
We know the days, we know the times, but group work was never factored in. So now I'm in group work. This is extra work. So this is above and beyond what we normally have to put out for the course. And now you're trying to fit it in everybody else's schedule. We're all on different time zones. So for somebody, it might be convenient to do it at this time, but now it's late in my neck of the woods. So it was really hard to now try to, get it to be conducive with everybody's time. So now you're taking away my convenience.
Right. Good point.
So that's the reason why I really dreaded group work, because it was extra. And I didn't have time for extra.
Right. And when you said that your instructors were being very specific, did they tell you when certain components of the group work were due, or did you just have a date for the entire project to be due?
No, there was actually dates or certain components. Okay. So you had to be up to this part by a certain timeline. And so it wasn't even like, oh, you got 2 weeks, go do it, be happy. No, it was like, no, by next week, you have to be to this point. You have to have the shell of the paper together, and then you have to meet again to get to the next level. So again, really not convenient.
Right. And I didn't think about the fact, because when I teach my students, or when I taught, my students were all in North Carolina. So they were on the same time zone. So I just thinking about people being in different time zones seems like it would have been good to have a survey to see where everyone lived, to kind of at least get you in the same time zone. What do you think about that?
That would have been a really great suggestion, to partner all of the East Coasters group, and then the other ones. Yeah, that definitely would have been something that would have improved the inconvenience that you're already putting upon me, but it definitely would have taken away some of the sting.
Okay, well, since we're on this vein, did you see any benefits from the group experience at all?
Can I be honest?
Oh no. Yes, please be honest.
Now listen, I understand group work as far as in the baccalaureate program, right? I get that, because a lot of times you're coming straight out of high school, so it helps you to interact with different people. I get all of that. But again, this was a master's level program. I've been there, done that.
Right.
And I'm also working. So I'm interacting. I know how to sit on teams and work with my colleagues effectively. I got that. Right. And so now the group work really didn't have a good purpose, because I get the purpose of it is so that you can connect and learn how to work well with others. I do that every day. So it really just was more of a nuisance to me rather than being of support.
So, this is so wonderful, because I always think about it, like you said, as for undergrads, because that's one of the soft skills that companies look for, is that you are able to collaborate and work on a team. And so now thinking about it on the graduate level, honestly, what's so interesting is that when I was doing my PhD program, I wanted to do group work. But now that you brought out the fact that people are in different time zones, which was the case in my courses, that probably would have been problematic if we were not, in that same time zone. So you brought out some really good points as it pertains to that. Now, what was your other pet peeve? You said you had two.
Oh, yeah. And this one's a biggie, too. When your classmates are committed, they are dedicated to critiquing you. They think they got the professor's cap on now, and now they want to critique you. And that drives me insane. Now, listen, I am all for, some constructive criticism. I'm good in that area. But listen, you don't know what's going on in my world. I got a lot going on. And the fact that it took everything that I had to get this comment up here, I don't need you tearing it down. I don't need you to try to dissect every entity of what I said and then create this whole dissertation on why you think I'm wrong. No. Can you give me a little kindness?
Right.
Can you critique with a little grace? Because you never know what it took for somebody to say what they said. So I'm just asking for a little grace. I don't need you berating me and making me feel like my thought process was wrong and I did something, that was unprofessional or whatever the case may be. I think those classmates who are just committed to wanting to criticize because they think that it's going to show the professor that they know the content and they're citing which page it's from. And it's like, dude, just be easy.
Right.
Just hit reply, do what you need to do, but don't come at me. And then they start asking you questions. Well, what about this, that, and the I'm only obligated to make my post and reply to two other people's. I don't want to go back and forth with you. Take it down a few notches, Mr. I think I'm the professor.
You know what? I had a guest during season 1, Miss Kai Howard, and she's in a doctoral program right now. And she made the same observation. And it was one of her pet peeves too, that the etiquette that people have, or the lack of etiquette that people have on the discussion board.
Yes.
And so I'm glad that you share what you think is the root cause of that they're trying to impress. What do you think that instructors could do to curb this behavior a little bit? Is there a training they could do? Like, what do you think? What could we do to stop this from happening?
Maybe a training. Maybe a training would be a good alternative. Etiquette. How to do constructive criticism, right? Because they literally tell us everything else. They tell us how many words we have to make our replies. They tell us we have to cite it, this, that, and the other, that we have to do it the right way. So it might be beneficial to have a little blurb, a little recorded message, just to tell people when they're replying to, I don't want to use the word easy, but to do it constructively, not to try to tear somebody down or to make someone feel like and again, I'm basing this off of my personal experience. So I get, I could be wounded, right? That could be a wound for me where somebody said something and it made me feel some kind of a way. So my response is probably based off of my inner wound with how it feels for somebody to come at you. But I think everybody deserves to have a level of grace. And I think the professors probably could write up a little blurb or something just to kind of reinforce that.
Yes. Now, Dr. Johnson, or Sheniqua Inspires.
Yes. I like to be less
formal.
So formal. Yes.
Right. Well, I would like for us to take a walk down memory lane. Can we do that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, I want you to go back to your K-12 years. Who would you say was your favorite teacher, and what did you like about this teacher?
Oh.
Can you think of your favorite?
Yes. And I'm tearing up now.
Oh, no.
It was, a first grade teacher.
No.
It was my first grade teacher.
And those are happy tears, right?
Those are happy tears because the reason why that she's deemed my favorite, not to say that anybody else didn't do, a good job, But she was deemed my favorite because, first of all, she was petite. So she was little like I was little. Now I was extra little in elementary school, but I knew I wasn't going to be super, super tall because my mother was, my mother's little. So she was very, very petite. So she had this loving spirit about her, and she operated in grace. Yes, she operated in grace with humility. Like, she didn't berate anybody. She didn't make anybody feel bad if you didn't get the answer right. She nurtured you through it. She didn't, oh my goodness, you didn't do the work. You didn't learn nothing. Did you read the bit? And she wasn't like, she just had this soft, this gentle, and honestly, I didn't realize it until you just asked that question. That's how I behave with my clients. I'm so gentle. I'm like, honey, I'm just stroking them well. Oh, you did so well with that. Like, I give them that grace because in early years, I learned what that grace feels like, and it feels amazing.
And isn't it wonderful that you can remember that even at this age, whatever age you might be?
And it's been a long time.
Yes. Because, in asking you that, I thought about when you said your first grade teacher, I can immediately remember my first grade teacher, Mrs. Bowl. I can remember her like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And so they must have some kind of grace in those primary grades, because I can remember her too. Now I want you to think about the online courses that you took for your master's degree. Did you have a favorite instructor while you were in that program? And if so, what did you like about that instructor?
I did.
Okay.
And what I liked about that instructor was the fact that they realized who they were dealing with. They realized that, again, in undergrad, chances are, because when I went to undergrad, I was 17 years old. I was living at home with mom and dad. I didn't have to work. It was an option. I didn't have a lot of responsibilities. But now in the master's program, now we're many, many years later, I'm a mom. I'm a single mom. I work. I have a household that I have to manage. I got bills coming in, right? So they understood that I wasn't sitting at home, painting my toenails and watching the novellas or something like that. I was busy. I was doing a lot of stuff. And I think they took that into account, that they knew that they were dealing with adult learners, people with lives, people with other competing priorities.
Yes. And what I've noticed is that you share both of those individuals, the first grade teacher and the one in the graduate program, seem to know, like you said, who they were dealing with and operated accordingly.
Yes.
And treated you accordingly. You said that your first grade teacher was loving. She operated in grace and nurtured you. And then you're saying this instructor knew that you had other circumstances. You had a life outside of taking class, and they recognized that.
Yes.
So as I just close this little section, I wanted to ask you, what tips could you give to online instructors? Because you told me offline that you all have also taught online.
Yes.
What tips would you give to online instructors who desire to have a deeper connection with their online students, but they're just struggling with that?
Get to know who you have in your class. And I know it's an online platform, so it makes it a little impersonal, but it doesn't have to be, right? We live in a day and age of social media. Not saying you should be on social media with your professors, but you can still take some of those premises, right? You can have forums where you have people put up pictures. And I think for the starting point, they do pretty good. Like the first day of class is usually like the introduction. So you get to hear what the professor, what their likes, their dislikes. Oh, they have a dog, they're married. Like you get to hear some personal things. And as a professor, as when I taught in a baccalaureate program, I wasn't trying to let you too far into my world. I always kept it a secret what I did, but they would always find out. Why? Because they would Google search me.
Right.
They could Google search me and be like, Professor Johnson, you do motivational speaking. You have a book? And I'm like, oh my goodness. But it is a good idea to let people into your world just a little bit.
Right.
So, and I think that helps to enhance that grace. So it should go vice versa. The professor should tell a little bit about who they are and what they like, and then let the students reply and let them share who they are, what's going on in their world. What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? That's one of those classic interview questions. So that might be a good question to bring in the classroom. What are the weaknesses that you're facing right now as a student? Mm-hmm. And then you get to hear if somebody's working a full-time job, if somebody is raising their children, if their children are sick, or like now you get to hear what the multifaceted components of the learner. Should that affect your grading? Not necessarily, but it helps you to understand. And now as a professor, you can counsel more effectively. Because as professors, you're a counselor as well.
Right.
That don't stop.
You wear so many hats, don't you?
Yes.
Whenever you teach.
Yes.
And so as we close that part out, I think you made some really good points about how we do a really good job at the beginning of a course.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of everybody's excited at the beginning. You know, it's like a relationship. You know, everybody's wanting, a new class. Let's get to know everyone. But then it tapers off.
Mm-hmm.
And so what can we do to keep that going throughout if it's an 8-week session? What would you suggest that we do to make that connection continue and go deeper? Did you ever talk on the phone with your instructors or have Zoom sessions or anything like that?
I did have a phone consultation during office hours, of course, right?
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Because office hours are great. And I remember being a professor and I was on campus. The students were on campus. I was on campus. And I would literally sit in my office and nobody would come.
Oh, my.
Nobody would come to office hours. The only time I was ever busy when it was around midterm and it was around finals. That's when everybody was lined up, by my door. But any other time, I'd be sitting in my office, shoes off, feet, folded up, sipping my tea, listening to my radio, because nobody was coming. So even in an online platform, office hours are still essential.
Yeah.
Right? So to have office hours, and maybe you can do a Zoom call so that it can be a little bit more personable. But it helps. So at least you hear what's in the heart of your students. And when I did get people to come to my office, that's when I heard what the problem is. So as a professor, all I'm seeing is the bad grades. So I'm not understanding. I'm like, well, you're probably just not spending enough time studying and everybody else is. I don't really get what the problem is. But it's not until we have a one-on-one when that I understand now your mom's been sick and you've had to pick up more hours at work. And now it's not that you're just lazy or you just didn't want to. You have all of these other competing priorities. So I really think for an online platform, I really think the professors need to stress.
Yes.
Right? They need to stress the importance of office hours and maybe take a page from grade school. You know how we used to have the parent-teacher conference, right?
Indeed. Yes.
That could be a necessity. Put it on the syllabus that you must make it mandatory, because if it's not on the syllabus, if it's not set in stone, then the adult learner is going to be like, well, I don't need that.
Right. Exactly.
Maybe if you make it mandatory that you meet with the professor maybe once, twice, 3 times throughout the course, depending on the length of the course, that might be beneficial for the learner.
Yes. And you know what? I started something called discovery sessions at the beginning of the course, and asked students to sign up for that. And I had a really great response. I did that for about 5 years.
Nice.
But then I started to think about, and I had this really open type of communication with them. Like, please, like you said, emphasize, please set up a conference with me if you're having any issues. So I think also your tone in your communication, your emails, how you come across to make them feel like they can come to you because, it's a very vulnerable place to be a student. And so I think that they don't feel like they can talk to you until it gets to its worst. Like
going to the doctor with a problem as opposed to going to get your baseline.
Exactly. So that emphasis and that stress that you talked about is really important. Now, we have made it to the Dear Professor segment where you get the opportunity to share your heart with a fellow professor that you have in mind. Now, imagine that there's an online bulletin board with sticky notes or messages from students to professors. What is the note you would leave one of your online college professors?
Dear Professor, thank you for seeing me. Even though it was a virtual environment, you had vision that you could see me through my words. You could hear the tiredness during office hours. When my words said, I want to quit, you heard my heart that cried out for strength. Thank you for understanding the needs of the very, very adult learner. Thank you for realizing that school was not my only responsibility. Thank you for hearing my words and responding timely with empathy. Thank you for reminding me that it is okay to slow down, but never to stop. Your influence is the reason I am the instructor I am today. Your impact is why I counsel my students and clients the way I do today. Thank you for being what I needed when I didn't even know what I needed. And thank you for helping me through the toughest season of my life. Thank you for not letting me quit and helping me to discover my strength. Signed, Sheniqua Inspires.
I'm going to tell you, you have earned that name. Do you hear me? I've loved when you said, well, everything about it was incredible, but I really love when you said you heard my heart that cried out for strength.
Yes.
That was just so beautifully penned.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. Isn't it wonderful to have somebody in your life?
Yes.
In that kind of authoritative role, to impact you in such a way that you could write a message like that.
Yes.
Oh, that was beautiful.
And I think that's the secret. I think that's what everybody desires. Everybody, even if you say you don't want to be seen, you want to be seen.
Right.
Right. So for somebody to be able to see you, even when you're trying to hide.
Yeah.
So I received that. And so now I'm able to reciprocate that. So my accountability clients, I see them and I let them know that I see them because that heals the heart, right? That touches the heart and it helps people to not give up on their goals and their dreams.
Yes, because in a world when we're so busy and everybody's busy being busy, being seen really matters, and more so being understood.
Yes,
in that seeing. So as we close, let me share my takeaway from today's conversation.
Yes.
When you are taking courses, Sheniqua Inspires. I want to say Dr. Johnson so badly, but when you're taking courses, most importantly, you said you need it for the course to be flexible. You would love the fact that you're in a different time zone and you can work on those courses late at night and get that work in after 11:59 on your end of the world. And you appreciate it not having to be somewhere at a specific time because you were in a stage of life where you're working, you have children, and that mostly that convenience what was the other thing that you really needed and appreciated. Did they cover the gist of your needs?
It sure did.
For our professors that are listening. Well, thank you so much, Sheniqua Inspires. This conversation was so stimulating and so thought-provoking as I suspected it would be. And I heard through the grapevine that time is our most precious commodity.
Yes.
So I am forever grateful that you chose to spend this part of your day with me. Before we go, please share your website so that listeners can contact you or learn more about your products and services and those 15 books that you wrote.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
How do you reshare?
www.sheniquainspires.com. So now the trick is to spell Sheniqua right. So it's SHENIQUA, inspires.com.
Yes, so there you have it. Sheniqua Inspires. Yes, she does. .com. You got your little taste test on this episode today.
Yes.
All right. So thank you all for joining us. Remember to comment, like, share this series with 1, 2, 3 people this week. Click that follow button on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe on YouTube. I look forward to spending time with you next week on the Dear Professor series, where college students who take courses online speak their minds. Bye-bye.